Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Death By, where contestants will earn reps for their arguments for a chance to stand on top of the podium pedestal. I am your host, Lauren Kalil. Whoever I decide has the best argument through the final round will earn 30 seconds to talk about a topic of their choosing. Before we get to today's episode, we want to thank our sponsor, the one that's been helping us sleep, stay asleep, and recover. It goes to Thirdzy. If you're somebody who has a wild brain and just cannot get to sleep, this stuff, it actually counteracts overstimulation. It also has collagen, magnesium, L-theanine, GABA, all in one strawberry lemonade beverage that you'll take about 30 minutes to an hour before bedtime, and it's going to help you sleep and promote that recovery for when you hit the gym the next day. If you want to try out Thirdzy, we have a discount for you, 20% off that you can save. Use code DEATHBY at thirdzy.com. That's THIRDZY.com, and you can save and sleep better tomorrow. On today's episode, we have the chief executive at HWPO, Matt O'Keefe, with a brand new jersey that he's repping today. We have the affiliate owner and CrossFit analyst with Get With The Programming, Chase Ingraham. And head coach at Underdogs Athletics, Justin Cotler, on the move, on the road today. Are you headed anywhere nice? Let us know. Where are you going, Cotler?
I'm going to meet Alex at the gym. That's where I'm going. It's not that exciting.
Games training.
It's another day. It's another day of games training. Yep.
Then Math Beyond, maybe Home Depot.
You never know. It's just not enough time. You never know. It's not enough time.
And also, because this is the first time I'm seeing you guys, happy belated Father's Day. Got three dads on the show today.
Thank you.
Great to have you guys with us. Anybody do anything fun? Any special moments?
Family retreat outside Austin on the lake.
Ooh,
that's nice.
Yeah, me and my brothers and my dad and my grandfather, and it was cool. We had basically 4 generations in the house just hanging out.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was in Italy. Rome.
Oh,
Rome.
All right.
Yeah, it was awesome.
I love it. He just had to one up you, Chase.
Sorry, that was my kids.
Yeah. I had brunch. That was basically it. Breakfast brunch with the kiddos. Yeah.
All right. Well, it's great to have you guys all with us. Now we're done with the formalities. It's time to see who can earn the most points. Let's play Death By. Topic number 1. Just last week, CrossFit LLC filed a trademark application for the use of CrossFit for the use in computer software that allows users to track and utilize results of fitness workouts, computer application software for mobile phones, namely software for tracking and retrieving fitness workout data. Now, we've seen plenty of wearables that promote using the feature HIIT or even Box Fitness, since CrossFit is not an option. And this leads to the question, do you love it or hate it, CrossFit owning the name CrossFit? Chase Ingraham, we will start with you while O'Keefe saves the lung.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I think, we own it. We've defined fitness. We as CrossFit, Greg Glassman, defined fitness. He transformed the way we look at fitness and health worldwide, and we should own that. And if you look at some of the examples, is like, the NFL doesn't own the word football. Well, the NFL didn't create football, right? The NFL is a league. It was created by Walter Camp, and it was for college athletics. Greg, created CrossFit and the methodology of which is the bedrock for everything. Like, we wouldn't be talking here today if it wasn't for that. And the fact that we own that is great, because the methodology is a movement. I would go as far as say it was a reckoning back in when it was 1996, right? And when we look at the current state of the world in health and fitness, CrossFit is the most important thing that is available for just changing the way the world views health and fitness. So I love the fact that we own it. The only thing I would want more is us to do the old school ways of defending it more, right? I'm tired of High Rocks coming in and talking shit about us and saying nothing about it. Or anyone in the space like trashing CrossFit and saying nothing about it. I want the teeth back, right? So not only do I want to own it, I want to defend it more than we currently do.
Ooh, so you want HQ to defend it, or who do you want to like go to bat?
HQ, me, you, everyone on this call, like just what the old community today, right? The old school ways of CrossFit was like everyone did. We've waved the flag, we had the banners, we had the t-shirts, we've got the hats, and no one could say shit to us because we owned CrossFit because we defined what it was. We were there from the beginning and marched to that tune and believed in the methodology, and it's still there, it's still alive, and it's still the number one thing in the world when it comes to health and fitness. I would just like to see the teeth back when it comes to defending it against the naysayers.
Bring out
I
the
want
teeth
another
the way
enemy.
Chase
That's
does
what
on
I
the
want,
show.
right? We figured it out. I want another enemy, and they're out there.
Feisty.
We just got to pick some fights and get back in the ring. Sorry.
2
No, I'm not.
2 points for Chase.
So feisty.
We're gonna hold him
Wow.
at bay because we're only in round one. O'Keefe, you're up next.
I don't know how I back that up, but I do. Listen, it depends on what you're looking for here. I'd say I love that CrossFit owns the right to their name and the methodology and how it's distinguished and articulated. I'd just like to see it democratized more, to be honest with you. And it is a world leader in fitness, wellness. There's no doubt about it. I want it. I want to share it more. And I think that there's so many examples for and for not to do that. But I just think of, all the conversations around people doing what we do and almost us turning our nose up at it at times. And it's saying like, well, why don't, we join them, or why don't they let them join us? Like, Barry's and Orange Theory and all, F45, like, let them call a class a day CrossFit. Let's get more people doing CrossFit. That's going to get more people into an affiliate. That's just how I feel. And that's been my experience. This is the answer for people being their best. It's changed my life and all of us on this call. I would just, want more people to have access, be more accessible. So how we use it, I think it is where I'm at with that. Of course they should own it. And I love that they control it and do that. I want them to use it more powerfully like that. Get more people doing CrossFit strategically. You talk about High Rocks. Instead of fighting them, let's partner with them because, so many people there are CrossFitters, and getting more people exposed to it, I think, is the answer for us to grow and to change more lives.
So then do you think that all of these other entities you mentioned, Barry's, would need to pay the licensing or the affiliate fee to be able to have one class that's CrossFit? Or do you think that should be a separate payment structure?
Yeah, I honestly, I don't, if like off the cuff, no. Like I would say, like come up with some way to collaborate that's mutually beneficial. Because I think if you go into those venues and do fitness, you're like, man, this is a lot like what we do at times. And are they even copying us? Probably at times. And copying what we do. Why don't we, use it as a point of exposure to get people to the affiliate? Where's where the magic happens. And I think that's, one way we could do it. Democratizing CrossFit more than we have, not possessing and making people just walk through an affiliate door to start their journey. Getting them experienced and exposed to it, I think, can lower the barrier of entry and get more people through that door.
2 points for O'Keefe. Cotler?
I mean, I think these guys both raise good points. I mean, I'm not sure how much else there is to expand upon it. I think it's good that CrossFit owns the name and obviously, the trademark. I mean, I owned an affiliate for years. I was extremely proud of, the idea of what CrossFit was, not just for fitness, but community as well. I think it was a group of like-minded people interested in changing their lives for the better. And, I think that's the message ultimately is that, it's scary to see what cultures become, with obesity rates and, people turning to medication as opposed to fitness. And I think that CrossFit stands for all those great things. Where I look at it more so, and just because of where I'm at as far as my career and kind of what I'm doing now is how it relates almost to the sports side of things. And I think what's frustrating for me is the lack of growth on that side. And I think for me, the biggest thing is how do we utilize, the name and the methodology to grow the sport. And I think the sport in turn creates more visibility for the methodology. And I think for me, that's the key here is, is being able to create competitions, competitive environments, etc., where you can utilize the name CrossFit to grow the sport. And I think that's the next phase of what I really hope we figure out, because I feel like that's where things are stalling out.
1 point for Cotler.
It's such a big discussion. What you just, the subject you just broached at the end is, and again, that's not the leadership at CrossFit needs to decide those things, but there's always been this like at times bone of contention with like the sport compared to the methodology. Even at times Greg talking about not caring about the sport because it isn't about that; it's about everybody else in the affiliate. I agree with what you're saying there. The sports, if nothing else, created more visibility and more accessibility. People have been more attracted to walking in that affiliate door because of the sport. But I do know internally that people can be frustrated with that perspective at times. And I think they need to make a decision and be very forthcoming with like, hey, this is how we see the sport and this is how we see the methodology. This is what is more important to us. It is gray at this point, really.
Yeah.
So then do more resources need to be put into the affiliates to see some of this growth, especially when, like, going back to Chase's point of like waving the CrossFit flags? How cool would it be if every affiliate actually had the flag on the outside of the gym where you get that organic marketing and can see that? I mean, with some of the affiliate names, I suppose, on signs, but I just don't know that I see the name enough outside of my little hemisphere of CrossFit. Anyone at all?
Bueller.
I to get the name out there more is it goes beyond like the sign on the door outside the gym or a flag hanging from a flagpole. It's a lot of what we, I say we CrossFit, Greg, did in the past because there's a necessity for it, right? When we went after Big Soda and we went after the NSCA and we went after all these people who were the ultimate naysayers and, liars about what the CrossFit methodology was and what it did for people. And now it's kind of like, winning that war. And it's not necessarily, and I said, is like, look for the next thing to fight or next thing to battle. There are plenty of things on the horizon that we can. And I think that was the biggest way to get our name out there, because when you do put yourself in a position to battle these big companies or brands or, pick your poison, is there comes a lot of scrutiny on both sides of the fence. And that, like, nothing gets your name out there more than a little controversy, right? Or some hot takes. We've all been a part of that in one way or the other, depending on the good or the bad and how that comes out. But it doesn't have to be the easy road. And I think going and taking a big step back to look at what those potential opportunities are to defend, support, build the brand will actually help that trickle down effect for the affiliates who are the bannermen of what that is, right? We all open affiliates because we believed in that, right? The falsification of data from the NSCA and Big Soda and Big Pharma now is a part of that. Like, we opened gyms not because it was really like, oh, I just want to be a gym owner or a business owner. Like, no, I want to be a part of this movement, right? I believe in this. This thing, to me, I can already feel it in the 2 weeks that I spent in this gym, having no idea what CrossFit really was. I felt the difference in there because there was that Bannerman mentality. And I think there are opportunities out there where we can rekindle some of that same thing outside of, signage and marketing.
Okay, let's move on now to topic number 2. What has been the most impactful moment for the growth of the sport or the methodology? I'm letting you guys decide. For this round, we will start with Matt O'Keefe.
Apologies. Caught something
Good start.
nasty over.
Yeah, right
Yeah.
there, O'Keefe?
No, I am not. Yeah, I think
Too much
that,
wine in Italy.
No wine. Just the Black Plague came back somehow.
Oh, no.
But I would, again, this is how I feel, and I think there's probably 100 things that you could point towards that were pivotal moments, maybe even more. When Greg and Dave decided to make this a sport and, celebrate, competition around the methodology, I can't think of a moment maybe more pivotal. I mean, then Greg, starting the first CrossFit gym and then, allowing others to do it. But I think the most, gasoline on the fire moment for me is, being able to watch these kids perform at this high level on TV, on ESPN back in the, OG days, and, at the ranch, or then, the first times at the Home Depot Center in Carson that we were just at. I can't think of a moment that's been bigger for, exposure, right? And, I know there'd be plenty of arguments internally and externally about what's important and not in the, leading with the methodology, but purely from, an advancement perspective and, an understanding of CrossFit, I go back to those times and what an unbelievable job the CrossFit HQ team did, telling stories, building athlete profiles, and then talking about the methodology. One of the things I think is missing the most when we broadcast and we have conversations around the sport is the detail at which they used to explain what CrossFit was. If you go back to those ESPN days in the early 2010s, there was like whiteboard sessions, and I think it was Rory's voiceover where, they would like chart out, what CrossFit is and like, how this all worked. We need to get back to that, man. That was when we were exploding, in the gym. Forget about the sport. And, it speaks to a little what I think Justin was talking about is, using the sport as the catalyst for the methodology. That moment in history, I don't know. Tell me one that's more explosive.
3 points for O'Keefe. Justin Cotler.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the most impactful. But I'm going to go a slightly different route just for a different answer. Ultimately, it is, I know what was most impactful to me. And what was most impactful to me was the ability to be able to take the CrossFit Level 1. Really first exposure there, this is, 16, 17 years ago. And I just think, the opening that up to the public, the ability for people to get in and really sink their teeth into the methodology, that weekend that you spent, especially a lot of us OGs at the first CrossFit Level 1 was really a life-changing experience. I mean, I can just remember, how excited and how into it that I was. And I think all the people at that time, especially, and I just feel like, when that was created and it just it took kind of what was this underground movement and really, made it this absolutely massive movement, the biggest movement in fitness, at the time for sure. And I just remember how life-changing it was for me. And I feel like there are a lot of people that probably feel the same way, that, after that weekend, it was like a whole new world. And, so I do believe that obviously the sport has created the visibility on a massive scale, but nothing was more impactful, I think, than the creation of the CrossFit Level 1 cert.
I like that. 3 points for Justin. Chase?
The timeline that is CrossFit. This is a fantastic question. Sport was a good one. When Reebok signed with CrossFit was a huge one. If you talk about exposure, right? I mean, we had our very first and one of our only CrossFit commercials with the crates dropping in every city. It was one of the coolest things I've ever seen on TV. However, none of that, the level 1, the certs, the seminars, the certificate courses, the games, none of this would be possible if Greg Glassman didn't step out of a Globo gym in 1996. But that's not the date that we're going to talk about. Or 2000 when he trademarked CrossFit. 2001, where he opened the first gym in Santa Cruz. 2002, where the very first affiliate CrossFit North was created in Seattle, Washington. 2002, when the CrossFit Journal came online with foundations. The date is February 10th, 2001, when .com came online to the world. And Fast and Heavy was right there, of dumbbell thrusters and 400-meter runs, 21, 18, 15, a rep scheme we haven't really seen before since that time. .com gave the world CrossFit. And if you think about the most impactful moment of growth, the world got to have free access to what CrossFit is. You wouldn't know where the CrossFit Journal was without .com. You wouldn't know where to find a level 1 without CrossFit.com. You wouldn't even know where the games were a thing without CrossFit.com. And CrossFit.com gets 2.3 million visits a month. So we're talking about growth and impact. CrossFit.com, when that came online, was one of the more impactful things we had in CrossFit outside of the big picture things on the timeline.
Do you have a timeline in front of you right now?
He sure does.
But I did write it down.
Yes.
I study, right? I study.
I love it. I love it. 4 points for Chase. .com. So is there a way that we could, or that CrossFit could build off of that to see as much growth as we did at the beginning? And like you said, 2.3 million every month. That's current.
Yeah. You're not going to see the growth we had at the beginning. And that's just the way these things work, right?
Sure.
It's an exponential timeline, and then it tapers off and it continues to grow, right? But I think what we need to make sure is that we capitalize on the growth that we have had. So the things that we have, like sport and our education, are 100% huge, impactful things we have in CrossFit. And the moment those things came online, and just the way to capitalize and continue that momentum in these magical things that have been created over the years is a big part of that. So like O'Keefe is right and Justin is right, and all of that is part of the timeline that is CrossFit, and it's just keeping that momentum. And it goes back to the first thing I said, is that just making sure that we raise that flag and we defend that flag and we continue this thing the way it is and has been over the last 20 years.
So then how do we continue to be the talk of the town when people have all of these other options now? They have the berries, they have the high rocks, they have Orange Theory. There's so many more options now because people are trying to be different and almost serve everyone. So how does CrossFit stand out?
Well, I'm just a lonely affiliate rep for the CrossFit community. However, you just listed knockoff CrossFit, knockoff CrossFit, knockoff CrossFit, knockoff CrossFit. All of these things that are in the middle ground of this space are because of CrossFit and because of Greg and because of those dates that we put out there. They are only in existence and only relevant because of CrossFit. And you're only going to be good at those on a recreational basis, unless you want to be a professional athlete, if you do what? If you do CrossFit. You will be better than the average berries goer, the average F45 goer, and the weekend warrior high rocks person if you go to a CrossFit gym and you work out 3 to 5 days for an hour at your max relative intensity. That's That's it. That's the secret. There's nothing in this space that is created today that isn't because of CrossFit or they're trying to be like CrossFit. And that's where we're at, right? And I think the more we recognize that in what O'Keefe said in more positive ways, like, look, these people are here because of us. Weightlifting is what it is today in popularity because of CrossFit. Pure and simple. Strongman is as popular as it is today in conjunction with CrossFit and what Rogue is doing to popularize that, right? It's always been exciting. However, nobody cared as much about the barbell on a platform in the Olympics than they did before CrossFit began. Now we all understand it, and now we admire and respect what that power is and what strongman is. And these small niches, like everything is just growing on the CrossFit vine. So keep the vine alive, right? Partner if you want to, but make it a partnership that they're partnering with us. Right? You want to make yourself more popular. You want to make yourself better. Jump on the vine, get on the bandwagon because this thing is not stopping.
Yeah, but you know, that goes to what I was saying earlier is, you know, I just think that the answer, I mean, and it really, if you go look back at, you know, how Greg articulated business was, you know, grow the pie, take your slice. You know, I think these people in these organizations and, you know, other platforms should be included in that because I couldn't agree more. I mean, most of them do exist because, you know, they're not, you know, either knocked off or inspired by, you know, what Greg built and CrossFit is. So, I mean, you know, we're getting a lot further with this. We want, you know, it by collaborating would be my point. That's just my history and experience. You know, when, you know, I think if we want, you know, play the market share game, I think that's not the place we want to be. You know, that, you know, becomes this technical, tactical business approach that, you know, we might not be the winner of in scenarios like that. For, you know, so I really do feel like, what Chase is saying is a lot like what I was saying to that prior question. You know, we really do need to and should be collaborating as many places as we possibly can to get people, you know, eventually through that door of the affiliate where the magic happens. I've said that for years now. Democratizing the CrossFit methodology is the answer to the, you know, to us, you know, being where we should be with this thing and CrossFit being where they should be.
You're 100% right. And I do agree with you on the High Rocks thing. It's just like, you know, if their CEO says something, then I'm going to say something, right? Like, I'm not just going to sit here and
I could not agree with you more on that.
And I've wanted this for years. The best, not the best, right? We're moving to Dickey's Arena, right? We're going into arena. Well, what mass participatory event happens in arenas? High Rocks. The first event of the CrossFit Games. You talk about the collab? Just set up. It's the same thing every time, right? Hey, let's see what our best athletes can do in an official High Rocks event and just see what that is. There's not a lot of things you could do in CrossFit that translates to some type of other competition on like apples to apples comparison. And we do that with weightlifting, but if you look at the numbers and the body weights that's happening, like we're not there yet. And if you ask Boz, we're definitely not there yet in gymnastics or any type of specialist worldwide sport, track and field, swimming, pick your poison. But High Rocks, it would be really cool to see where the best of ours stack up with just general physical preparedness in a High Rocks event. When you talk about collabing.
Totally. Couldn't agree more.
That'd be sweet.
What do you think it would take to have event one of the CrossFit Games be the High Rocks test?
Money.
Yeah.
It all comes down to money. Every conversation we have here comes back to the money tree.
Yeah. Honestly, like if you're High Rocks and you're as awesome as you say you are and your sport's growing, is like just, hey, what's it going to take? What's the downside there? The downside is we talk about High Rocks at the beginning of the CrossFit Games for an entire day. Mm-hmm. The upside is none of the athletes best your athletes. So you get to talk about that for an entire day. Like the cross collab and just, and make it fun, right? I love sports pettiness it's one of my favorite parts about sports, right? Like, O'Keefe wore a Boston jersey as if me from Dallas is going to care. I can't stand the Mavericks. I'm a San Antonio Spurs fan. I cheer for two teams, the San Antonio Spurs and anybody that plays the Dallas Mavericks. So I had a hell of a night last night. Congratulations. But
By the way, I didn't wear this.
Trash talk and banter.
Yeah. I didn't even think about you with the Dallas thing, by the way. Totally. But effective. I mean, the fear, if you look at it, put yourself in somebody in leadership at CrossFit's seat and shoes and say, like, well, what's the risk in bringing High Rocks in? Do we validate them further? Are they a competitive product to us? I just don't think they are. We test for the fittest. And if they think they do, great, but you don't. And the reason you don't is because you can adapt to, it's predictable. There's that adaptation. Those guys are insane what they're doing. The performance level is outrageous, almost unfathomable at times, right? But they're not doing what we do, what the CrossFit Games is. The test for the fittest on earth is the CrossFit Games. So I don't see the risk.
Right, because it would just be one of, 12 to 15 tests over the course of 3 to 4 days.
Like I said, it's no different than doing a 5K, which every 14-year-old girl in high school is going to beat Jeff Adler's time. Right? Like, we're not talking about that. We don't care. We're not claiming we're the best runners. We're claiming Jeff Adler can go out there and run a sub 18-minute 5K or 4.5K, whatever you want to call it, and then go back and lift a couple 100 pounds on a clean and jerk in 2 lifts and a snatch in the same day at elite levels that are competitive. Right? Like, that's it. That's the whole thing. Right? Plus, we already tested the High Rocks thing.
Well, we tested
Hunter
that.
McIntyre came into the CrossFit Games in 2019. He didn't make it past the second cut. And they're just running like the classic CrossFit, like nothing was wild. Rope climbs, running, and snatches at 185 and 135. Like that's Games athletes sleepwalk through that. So yeah, it was great. And it was a great conversation. I mean, think about all the stuff we talked about leading to the 2019 Games. I mean, there was a lot of stuff we were talking about in the 2019 Games, but that was a huge story.
Jeez.
It really was.
Yeah.
Let's now move on to topic number 3. Speaking of CrossFit Games athletes, we mostly know who's going to the Games pending the testing of drug results. But right now, we are going to decide who is going to be the 2024 Rookie of the Year. Justin Cotler, you will start our third and final round.
Let's see if you guys have the balls to get off your own platforms like you did last time.
Why would you
A lot of points on the line.
I'm gonna go outside of party lines.
Woohoo!
And I'm actually gonna steal O'Keefe's answer before he answers it. And
no repeats.
Victor Hoffer. Yeah, I'm gonna say it's Victor Hoffer. I think Victor's gonna have. He's got home runs. I think that's very important at the CrossFit Games. Depending on the events, you could win a few of them, and that can obviously help him with some of the events he'll struggle with. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say that I think the Rookie of the Year will be Victor Hoffer.
5 points, Justin Cotler, outside of party lines. I hope O'Keefe is thinking of a backup answer right now.
Sorry, bro.
Chase, you're up next.
Okay. I'll save Gracie Walton for O'Keefe, and you guys can shake each other underneath the table like you just did. So here's a real answer with some in-depth thinking when it comes to this. All right, I'm glad the guys got it. I think Lauren's just laughing because she thought I made a joke, but it was way more crass than some people might realize. But here's the thing: who is it going to be, or who should it be? Because we didn't get the right answer last year. Sorry, right? The Rookie of the Year last year was Olivia Kersetter. We all know it should have been Yella Hosta.
100%.
But that being said, let's fast forward to a new future. And when you look at performances in semifinals, those knocking on the doors and those with all the hype and lights around them, Victor Hoffer being one of them. Another one being Gracie Wall, which we may hear in a second. But the name I'm looking at is one that doesn't have all the fanfare, doesn't have all the attention, but does have the stats to back it up. And that's Mr. Austin Hatfield. Austin Hatfield sitting at 5'7", 195, might as well come out of the CrossFit Games champion prototypical assembly machine when it comes to that body size. The dude's strong, he's got good gymnastics, he's fit, right? But when you look at the most important thing for Austin Hatfield, aside from what I'm about to say right now, is there's no pressure. There's no pressure to perform. You're just going to go out there and compete, because with expectations come a wave of pressure and scrutiny at the highest level from people like me that are in the media space or the CrossFit podcast space when it comes to that. But Austin Hatfield, outside of John Young, who has been heralding this guy as the next CrossFit Games champion, right? I think based off his performance in semifinals across all semifinals, he's the highest ranking rookie on the men's board and the women's board in terms of levels from 1 through 40. So Austin Hatfield is going to be your rookie of the year in the 2024 CrossFit Games.
Ooh, backing it up with stats, man. Chase.
Sorry.
4 points. 4 points. That's okay. It's still enough to put you in the lead, I think.
Solid.
But it wasn't a 5 point because Justin
yes.
risked it all. Matt O'Keefe, are you going to pick Gracie Walton now? Did Chase serve you the answer?
We did not talk ahead. Honestly, quite frankly, I truly believe that Victor is going to be the
I
rookie
knew
of
he
the
was
year.
couldn't do it.
I mean,
Stay away.
I really couldn't. I mean, there's party lines, but then there's also facts. I think he's going to be the most impressive rookie at the CrossFit Games this year, and he's going to win that award for a lot of the reasons that Justin just said. I think there's home runs in his arsenal, which bodes really well on the leaderboard. I could make the analogy a little bit, but, in a different scenario to Guy in his first year, and that he has elite capabilities in certain categories and some areas, that he needs to work on, that he would say, Guy finished top 10 in his first CrossFit Games. I'm not going to be surprised if that happens with Victor because of, some of his upside. So I just don't, when I look at it, and, that's a great argument from Chase's perspective, but I truly believe that Victor is going to be the rookie of the year. He's poised. We saw how he performs under the microscope and pressure. People who are on the periphery, fans of the sport, what Victor did in France was outrageous. There was a lot of pressure on him from that community, that venue. His back was against the wall on Sunday. I think we saw the start of something special with Victor Hoffer that weekend. So, yeah, I mean, I know it's party lines, and I know it's not the popular answer, and I could go a different route just to do it, but I'm not going to do it. I think Victor truly is going to be the rookie of the year this year. Sorry to disappoint, fellas.
But staying true to what you believe in, I'll give you 2 points, O'Keefe.
I thought you gave great info to back it up, though.
Thank you,
Victor being the gymnastics version of Guy Malheiros, I thought was a fantastic,
there you go. Yes,
fantastic stat. Back against the wall and how he performed in France in his home crowd. That's a lot of pressure, so that was a good one too. I thought that was nice. That was nice. But 30th place finish in a classic, lifting workout is not going to work at the CrossFit Games. So that might be even worse.
It's not, right? I mean, hey, listen, when you look back at rookie performances, though, think about Brent Fikowski. That could be one of the most impressive rookie years in history. He won 4 events that year.
Yep.
When you can take your swipes at that level, 100 points cures a lot of problems over the course of 10 to 14 scores. So, he's got that ability. He's that much better at certain things. So, we'll see.
He still got edged out by another rookie known as Pat Vellner.
Yeah. Yep. Totally. But I mean, honestly, from a performance perspective, I mean, Brent Fikowski's rookie performance. I mean, that could be a whole other question.
I think that was so good.
That was wild.
Chase, congratulations.
Yes.
Another
You
W.
deserve it. Honestly, like if we're being real, like you're detailed, prepared.
Studied. I'm just gonna I don't show up like Justin on my cell phone and be like, what are the questions?
I'll admit I was
February
fully
10th, 2001.
2001.
He's got
You definitely
75
you did your homework
degrees,
today.
Santa Cruz, California. Mist coming off the ocean. Marine layer just lifting. No, I'm just kidding. That was all right. Sorry.
I did feel like I was listening to like a documentary if I just closed my eyes and listened. It was very
The
nice. It was
Dusty
very
Ranch
nice.
in Aromas, California, 2007.
Yeah.
Dave Castro and Greg Glassman stood together on the precipice of defining the sport. All right, that's enough. That was my 30 seconds. I don't.
Is that your
I've
30
talked
seconds,
too
Chase?
much. I've talked so much in this episode. I apologize. That's enough for me.
Anybody have a good thing that they want to, or I mean, good or bad, I suppose, that you want to have 30 seconds to have a rant?
I mean,
I've had like 3 rants today.
Go ahead.
So,
Yeah.
rant it out.
I don't need to. I mean, I gotta give some props to my town. It's
Oh, there he goes.
no, but really, it's funny. I grew up in an era in Boston. This is not CrossFit related. Total apology, but where it was sad, and we're such a hardcore sports fan base. We sucked at everything, and my generation was starving for something to be engaged in that was not just another group of lovable losers. We were the 0-16 Patriots, and the Red Sox hadn't won in 86 years, and Larry Bird and the Celtics brought a lot of joy to my life in the 80s and gave us a taste. And then there was a lot of downside, but anyway, the Celtics won the championship last night, and I think a lot of people, and rightfully, think that Boston fans are obnoxious. And, my son is probably developing into one where it's just, this is what happens being a Boston sports fan. You just continue to win championships. We don't do anything, my son, Jack. We get to watch those athletes do it. But, man, it's so cool. The culture in Boston around sports could be second to none, honestly, from a professional perspective. This town just bleeds every color of every team, and it was just fun last night. They watched the community go wild, and they've done it 18 times now, and it's still just like it's the first. It's really, really cool. It's a ton of fun. So whatever. I mean, for what it's worth, I know that we're obnoxious sports fans, and probably I can be at times, but it is. I am really grateful for where I get to live. Who my home teams are.
Go get
Boston.
that cough checked out.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Totally.
You're probably choking on the fact that Dallas is actually crushing it this year as far as sports are concerned. So that might be it. I mean, the Cowboys made the playoffs and then they lost at that. But that's what they always do. Texas Rangers won the World Series for the first time in their franchise history. The Dallas Stars went to the Western Conference Finals. The Dallas Mavericks went to the NBA Finals. And the CrossFit Games would come to Dallas-Fort Worth. I mean, what are we talking about here?
Wow.
Picture perfect.
That's pretty good.
Sports pettiness.
Yes. I like Dallas a lot. So,
Chase, congratulations again. Cotler, O'Keefe, thanks for stopping by, hanging out. Tell Alex good luck
Great
with
to
her
see
training
you guys.
session.
You too.
Always good to hang
I
out.
will.
Thanks to our partner, Thirdsy. Use that discount code DEATHBY to save 20%, and we will see you all next week.